into Dutch with the Neuro-Affirming Conversation Hour for outreach and support.
Welcome, summer 2025 Humanities 101 students. I know some of you are joining us for the first time this morning. This is the Neuro-Affirming Conversation Hour for outreach and support, where I come every week to kind of update you on the latest in human research and talk about our coursework, which you do have today. If you are joining us for the first Humanities 101 NACHOS, your never attended assignment is due today. So please make sure that you check your emails and get on the Google Classroom. But before we begin today's episode, I want to take a moment, not just as a host, but as a fellow human who's learning in real time, to speak honestly about some things that I've been sitting with. And it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. Part of what we practice here at NACHOS is radical and whole self-awareness. Not the kind that performs virtue, but the kind that tells the truth in full. Messy, vulnerable, and without the safety of a curated filter. So here's my truth. In recent weeks, I've had to face the reality that some of my own actions, social conversations, public content, attempts at humor and bonding have caused harm. I engaged in groupthink. I used laughter as a defense mechanism, and I participated in dynamics that weren't respectful. Not malicious per se, but messy. Not intentional, but impactful. Sometimes I tried to process things through social media in ways that weren't fair to the people involved. Sometimes I tried to belong by playing along or playing small or performing confidence when what I really needed was curiosity. And sometimes in trying to manage my own overwhelm, I dismissed others' humanity. I say all this not to center guilt, but to acknowledge the ripples I've made, because people matter more than my comfort. When folks leave a space like this and they say they didn't feel safe or seen or respected, I don't want to just say that's on them. I want to be able to say, let me understand what I didn't see and let me do better. I also want to acknowledge that other pain that this brings up. I mean, honestly, because if you live with rejection sensitivity dysphoria like I do, this kind of moment can feel soul shattering. Not just they're upset, but I am the problem. Not just they've moved on, but they've moved on because I'm unlovable. But here's the truth I keep coming back to. I can feel pain and still grow from it. I can acknowledge harm without erasing my self-worth. So what I want to say is this. If you've ever found yourself in a similar spot, you are not your worst moment. You are not too much, and you are not irredeemable. You're a work in progress, and that progress includes the courage to reflect, repair, and realign. And that's where I am right now. And because of that, there will be some changes in the NACHOS community. Faces that you've seen won't be around. Names that you've noticed will not be there. There will be changes to the Discord as well. For those of you that join us on the Discord, there'll be no changes to the Google Classroom space. There might be the addition of some more Google Classroom spaces for those people in the general community and in the public. But there will be change. And it's not punishment, and it's not shame-based pivots. It's conscious shifts towards safety, clarity, and accountability. And there may be pauses, and there may be restructuring. And there may be new community guidelines or reimagined boundaries around how we gather, share, and support one another. All of it will be done with care. All of it will be done in alignment with what this space was always meant to be. A place for softness, for belonging, and for truth. So bear with me as we walk through this together. If you want to be a part of this community, whether for a week or for a year, I want you to know you deserve a space where your dignity is protected. And I'm committed to making sure that this space lives up to that promise, even when it's hard. So thank you for being here, for holding space, and for giving feedback, even when it's hard to hear on my end. And for walking this path with me, not as a follower or as a fan, but as a fellow traveler. And over the next few weeks, like I said, there may be pauses, new boundaries, new approaches to how we gather, and not as a reaction, but as a recommitment. We'll move forward gently. We'll keep growing honestly. And today, that's the truth we start with. So thank you. Now to the meat. Today is Malcolm X Day, May 19th, 2025. It commemorates the birthday of the civil rights leader Malcolm X, and this day serves as a time to reflect on his enduring legacy and the impact of his work for racial justice and equality. He was born in Omaha, Nebraska, 1925. All right, his teachings and speeches, if you haven't checked them out, today is the day to do so, have inspired many to take action against injustice. And while Malcolm X Day is officially recognized in some areas, such as Berkeley, California, and Illinois, its observance varies across the United States. Nonetheless, this day provides an opportunity to learn about Malcolm X's contributions and engagement in discussions about social justice and equality. So as we begin, let's take inspiration from Malcolm X's commitment to truth, education, and transformation. His life reminds us that the power of critical thinking and the importance of challenging the status quo in pursuit of a more equitable society is not only a noble cause, it is a righteous one. So welcome to Humanities 101, the Neuro-Affirming Conversation Hour for outreach and support, what we call NACHOS. Let's embark on this journey of exploration and understanding together. And let's begin with a quote from Malcolm. Despite my firm convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face facts, to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds. I've always kept an open mind, a flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. Again, despite my firm convictions, I've always been a man who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds. I have always kept an open mind, a flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. Those words, Malcolm X's words, remind us of something radical and necessary, that truth is not a fixed destination. It's a practice. And that real courage doesn't lie in having all the answers, but in being willing to update your databases when new information comes along. To stay open, to stay curious. To let lived experience, new information, and evolved understanding shift our perspectives, not as weakness, but as wisdom. In a world that often rewards certainty, performance, and rigid conviction, there's something quite powerful about saying, I used to believe that, but I know more. Or even, I don't know, but I'm listening. Or, I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. So today's episode isn't about arriving, it's about becoming. It's about exploring how our brains, our bodies, and our beliefs respond to rhythm, resonance, and relationship. It's about honoring flexibility, not just as a cognitive skill, but as a form of integrity. Because in the search for truth, whether in science, identity, or deep human experience, especially the deep human experience of navigating change, the most intelligent thing we might do is to remain soft enough to grow. And in this space, growth is never punished. Curiosity is never shameful, and showing up with questions is always enough. So, what's in the news? A recent international study led by researchers from McGill University and the University of Connecticut invites us to rethink something most of us take for granted: how we experience music. We've long assumed that musical enjoyment comes from learned expectations, that our brains predict what comes next in a melody or a beat, and that pleasure arises when those predictions are satisfied or surprised. But this new framework called neuroresonance theory suggests something far more embodied, that we don't just hear music, we become it. According to the researchers, our brains and bodies quite literally resonate with music. Our neural oscillations, the natural rhythms within our brains, sync up with the rhythm, harmony, and melody. It's a full body experience, not metaphorically. I'm speaking, I'm absolutely, literally, neurologically. So, from our auditory pathways to our spinal cords, our system aligns with the structure of music, creating that undeniable urge to tap a foot, feel emotion rise, or move in rhythm. As Dr. Caroline Palmer puts it, quote, music is powerful not just because we hear it, but because our brains and bodies become it, end quote. And when we consider that this resonance can be observed across multiple body systems, we begin to see music not as a passive listening experience, but as a deeply embodied form of communication, one that reaches into movement, memory, emotion, even healing. This has profound implications from therapy for Parkinson's and stroke to learning strategies for neurodivergent children, to how we design artificial intelligence that can respond to human feeling. But perhaps most powerfully, it invites us to stay open to what we don't yet know about ourselves and how we relate that to the world around us. Rather than viewing music as something that the brain predicts and analyzes from a distance, this theory suggests that our nervous systems, from our brain waves to our spinal cords, actually resonate with that rhythm, melody, and harmony that we hear. In other words, musical experience is not just cerebral, it's physical, emotional, relational. It's a full body event. And our brains don't just interpret the sound, they synchronize with it. They don't just perceive the rhythm, they embody it. And the beat doesn't just stay outside of us, we meet it and we move with it and into it. And that truth, that we are a part of what we feel, that we can tune in instead of tune out, lives at the core of what we return to so often in NACHOS. Because so many of us, especially those of us in the neurodivergent disabled or chronically overwhelmed bodies, we've been taught to live at odds with our own rhythms, to override them, to mask them, to mute them for the comfort of others. But this study reminds us of something gentler and more real. We're wired for resonance. Our bodies are not glitches to fix. They're instruments. They're picking up frequencies of emotion, connection, and sound. And that brings us to something much, much deeper. If we are resonant beings, if we literally sync with the world around us, then our environments matter. Think about it. The spaces we inhabit, the sensory input we receive, the people we allow close to us, even the music we listen to, not just through the speakers, but through the moments and choices that make up a day. They matter. And in this, we begin to see a new way of understanding what a good life might look like. Something we talked about last week. Not dominated by perfection or performance, but one guided by attunement. Thinking about that wrinkles only going where the smiles have been, our bodies becoming attuned to those wrinkles. Now, if we continue our exploration of rhythm and resonance, we turn to a fascinating discovery that extends the concept of musicality beyond humans. Recent research reveals that chimpanzees engage in rhythmic drumming, producing patterns with regular spacing between beats. Notably, Eastern and Western chimpanzee subspecies exhibit distinct drumming styles, suggesting the roots of musical rhythm may predate humans, originating from common ancestor shared with chimpanzees. It's a theory. The finding underscores the idea that rhythm is not solely a human construct, but a fundamental aspect of communication and expression in the animal kingdom. Think about that in relationship to the last article. Chimpanzees use drumming as a means to convey information across distances, maintaining social bonds within their social groups. Each chimpanzee's unique drumming style serves as an auditory signature. It reflects individuality, and it even fosters connection. The parallel between chimpanzees drumming and human musicality invites us to consider the deep-seated nature of rhythm in our own lives. Just as chimpanzees use this rhythm to connect and to communicate, humans, we've long relied on music and rhythm to express our emotions, to tell stories, and to build communities, to foment revolution. This research also aligns with the concept of resonance discussed earlier. Wherein our bodies and our brains synchronize with musical rhythms, it suggests that our capacity for rhythm and music is not an isolated trait, but something broader and part of a larger biological framework shared with other species. And when we recognize the shared root of rhythm across species, it can deepen our appreciation for the role of music and movement in our lives. It reminds us that engaging with rhythm, be it with dance, music, or even tapping your foot, your finger, or your toe, you get connected to a fundamental aspect of our being. One that transcends cultures, boundaries, or even species boundaries. So in embracing this rhythm as universal language, we acknowledge our place within the larger tapestry of life where communication and connection are woven through beats and patterns that resonate across time, across place, and even across species. And so from this rhythmic drumming of chimpanzees in the African rainforest, which offers us a glimpse into evolutionary roots, we shift our focus to the vast expanse of the cosmos. Recent research from Radboud University has revealed that the universe is decaying much faster than previously thought. Calculations based on Hawking radiation suggest that the last stellar remnants will perish, well, too goddamn long from now for me to be able to read the number. This perspective underscores the transient nature of existence. Okay, so it reminds us, in a weird way, that change is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Just as chimpanzees use that rhythm and that communication to connect, the universe itself follows a rhythm of creation and decay. Recognizing these patterns deepens our appreciation for the interconnectedness of all things. It invites us to live in harmony with the rhythms of the internal and external worlds. As we navigate our own journeys, we might find solace in the knowledge that we are part of an larger, ever-evolving tapestry. Some of us don't. By attuning ourselves to those rhythms that are around us, within us, about us, we can cultivate a sense of peace. There are whole philosophies around this. There are beliefs that we can foster connection that will transcend the ephemeral nature of existence. That true eternal living is through connection, not through biology. So if this last story asks us to kind of zoom all the way out, to imagine the universe slowly unraveling across unthinkable and unmeasurable spans of time. This next one asks us to zoom all the way in, into our own minds again, into the quiet patterns behind the stories we tell ourselves every day, and in the rhythms of our belief. A recent study from the American Psychological Association explores how our belief in karma, the idea that action leads to morally weighted consequences, shapes the way we perceive both our lives and the lives of others. And what researchers found is striking, if not surprising. When people believe in karma, they're more likely to explain positive events in their own lives as a result of their goodness and negative events in other people's lives as deserved of punishment. In other words, karma becomes a tool of self-protection, a tool for moral elevation, for ordering a world that often feels chaotic, random, and unjust. We want to believe that good things happen to good people, and we want to really believe that we are among them. The good people, that is. So when something good happens to us, we reach for karma to explain, well, I must have done something, right? And when something bad happens to someone else, we often unconsciously reach for that same belief. Well, they must have had it coming. But here's where this connects so profoundly with the rhythms we've already explained in this episode. Just as our bodies resonate with music, as chimpanzees drum to express identity and connection, and as the universe pulses through cycles of creation and dissolution, we too create rhythms in thought, in narrative, and in belief. The karma study reveals how easily our minds create meaning, as Viktor Frankl often argues, even when that meaning isn't fair, kind, or accurate. Going back to our aforementioned rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And if you think about it, this isn't a flaw. It's a part of being human. This is how our brains work. It's a part of what helps us feel safe in a world that can be deeply uncertain. It's the nervous system. But in the spirit of NACHOS, Neuro-Affirming Conversation, in a spirit of curiosity, of self-reflection, and of grace, it invites us all to ask, what rhythm of thought am I moving into? What beliefs am I repeating that might be rooted more in my need to feel good rather than what's actually true? How can I soften that impulse, not to erase it, but to hold it gently and to grow from it? Because awareness isn't about self-blame. It's about giving ourselves more room to breathe, more space to choose something different, something kinder, something that doesn't reduce people's suffering to a scorecard. And maybe, just maybe, it's about learning to resist the urge to make sense of everything. Because we assign moral weight to every outcome, and we look for flaw in every instance. Maybe it's okay that sometimes good people struggle, and maybe it's okay that bad things happen without a cosmic cause. Maybe chaos is true and randomness is real. Maybe suffering isn't always a punishment and joy isn't always a reward. Maybe what matters more is how we show up for ourselves and for each other when the music doesn't resolve the way we thought it would. Because in that space, in that awareness, There's a deeper kind of harmony waiting. The kind that says you don't need to earn safety. You don't need to deserve grace. You're not here to be tested. You are here to be, period. To connect, period. To care, period. And here, in this rhythm, in this reflection, in this human unfolding, you already belong. Now, if we transition from this exploration of how beliefs like karma shape our perceptions, we can delve a little deeply into the intricate interplay between our immune system and mental health. Because a recent study from the Brigham and Women's Hospital reveals that psychedelics, we've talked about these before, such as psilocybin and MDMA, can reverse neuroimmune interactions that amplify fear responses. In stressed mice, these substances prevented inflammatory immune cells called monocytes from accumulating in the brain. Thereby, the appearance of fear was reduced. This suggests a profound connection between our immune responses and emotional states. This research underscores the potential of psychedelics to modulate not just our perceptions, but also our underlying biological processes, the ones that govern our emotions, the ones that I can point to you in the brain. By dampening inflammation and resetting brain immune interactions, these substances may offer new avenues for treating conditions like anxiety and depression. In the context of our earlier discussions on karma, this study invites us to consider how external factors, like chronic stress and immune responses, can shape our internal experiences. It challenges the notion that our emotional states are solely the result of personal choices or moral standings. It highlights the complex biological underpinnings of our feelings. And as we continue to explore these resonances and these rhythms, this intersection of neuroscience and immunology offers a compelling reminder. Our well-being is a delicate symphony of interconnected systems, each influencing the other in subtle yet profound ways. So what do all these stories have in common? Brains and spines syncing to rhythm like instruments tuned to joy, chimpanzees drumming their identities in a forest canopy, a universe that pulses with creation and decay, vast and temporary, belief systems that shape how we interpret suffering, psychedelics calming immune responses, offering relief not just from fear, but the shame of feeling too much. Each of these stories tell us something about rhythm, about the patterns that shape us biologically, emotionally, socially, even cosmically. They remind us that we are not separate from the world. We are woven into it. We are resonating with it, sometimes in harmony and sometimes in dissonance. And that resonance isn't just a metaphor. It's real. It's chemical. It's neural. It's behavioral. And that's where NACHOS lives. In the space where science meets self, where data becomes direction, where we ask not only what does this mean, but also how can I carry this with softness? Because these stories don't just help us understand how the world works. They help us understand how we work, not just as problems to solve, but as people to support. They tell us that our emotions are not random, that our sensory experiences are meaningful, that our fatigue, our joy, our fear, our stimming, our need to pause, They're all a part of larger rhythms our bodies are trying to keep up with. And more than anything, they remind us that care isn't just a practice, it's a form of resonance. It's a willingness to listen closely to music, to the body, to the universe, to each other, and to say, I hear you. I feel you. I want to move with you, not against you. In a world that often demands speed, certainty, and control, these stories invite us, well, they invite us back to something softer, something slower, something more attuned. And that's what's at the heart of Nachos. The idea that self care is not as a luxury, but as an alignment. Self knowledge, not as a diagnosis, but as a discovery. And self affirmation, not as a reward, but as a damn birthright. You do not have to be perfectly regulated to be worthy of rest. You don't have to make perfect sense to deserve support. You don't have to justify your softness. It's part of your strength. You are not a static self. You are a rhythm, a resonance, a becoming. And here, in this moment, in this music, in this body you call home, you already belong. So before we close, let's return to those words that open this episode. Words that ground everything we've explored together. Despite my firm convictions, I've always been a man or a person who tries to face facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds. I've always kept an open mind, a flexibility that must go hand in hand with every form of intelligent search for truth. Again, on Malcolm X Day, Malcolm X reminds us that growth is not a betrayal of who we've been. It's a deepening of who we are becoming. And those people and things and places in our past that we leave in our past are not a betrayal of our present. They're an acceptance of our presence. It reminds us that this is a becoming. That keeping an open mind isn't about indecision. It's about integrity. And that truth isn't a trophy. It's not a destination. It's a practice. It's a rhythm. It's a resonance we keep learning and relearning, and sometimes relearning to hear. So as we close, I want to leave you with this question. Something that you can answer down in the chat. What truth have you come to see differently? Not because you were wrong, but because you were open. What belief have you softened? What rhythm in your body or your life are you finally allowing yourself to follow? Drop your reflections in the comments. Again, not to prove anything, but to remind someone else that they're not alone in learning, shifting, and becoming. And now, as always, we close with a few affirmations. Reminders to carry with you, especially on days when certainty feels far away. Growth is not linear. It's rhythmic. Rest is not a pause from life. It is life, unfolding at a gentler tempo. You are not your productivity, and you are not your output. Your worth is not measured by your hustle, and self-care is not selfish. It's honest. You're allowed to rewrite the music of your life, even if others are used to a different tune that you used to play every day, every year for the last 40 years. And this one, the one we return to again and again, you already belong. You already belong. Not once you've figured it all out, not once you've arrived, but now, as you are in this moment of becoming, you already belong. And so, as you start your week and as you head out into this Monday, Tuesday, or whenever you're joining us, keep those with you. Keep remembering that you aren't your mistakes. You're more than that. Remember that if you need a place, this is a place, maybe not the place for you. Maybe I've made that, screwed that up, but this is a place, and I welcome you in it. If you're in my class and you do have questions, please feel free to hit me up with email. Again, you've got all of that in your campus information. I will be hopefully having a Google Meet sometime this week. Watch your Google Classroom for more information. And I will see you guys next Monday. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week.